Welcome to RealCAD. Today we're going to look at the RealCAD LT, RealCAD itself, the full version, ArborCAD, which is an application that uses the RealCAD engine, and LandWorks that also uses the RealCAD engine. Double click on the icon to open the program and you'll be welcomed with a welcome screen. This will occur on all of the products. So in this case, we're looking at RealCAD LT. And if you're on a trial of the version, you will not be able to uncheck this option so that this screen actually will end up always appearing every time you start the program. Once you've purchased, you will have the opportunity to check this and it will no longer appear should you wish it not to. We do recommend that if you are looking at purchasing or you have already purchased, that you explore the training courses, you explore the manual, and more importantly than all, you actually open and print the shortcut cheat sheet, which I'll show you here. This is available for both Windows and lower down for the Mac version. There's no real difference between the Windows and the Mac version apart from the fact that you're using slightly different keys for the activation of the commands. So print this out and keep it as a ready reckoner whilst you are learning or using the software. You'll notice in the LT version that there is only one row of icons or commands across the top and a subset of icons down the bottom here. This is because the LT version is a smaller command set than the full version. Let's close this one and we'll open the full version of RealCAD here. When we do, we still get the same idea behind the splash screen, still get the same manual and shortcut cheat sheet options, but we now have more menu items to choose from. The menu down the left-hand side is now across the top, and we have what are called the parent and child menu systems. So for instance, if I wish to draw circles, I select from the parent row across the top the circle commands, and underneath in the child row, I have all of the ways I can activate or draw circles. The same would be true for curves, for hatch patterns and planes, and for text. Exactly the same idea behind each one. Click on the parent, it activates the child row underneath for you to select your chosen command from. And with all of these menus are grouped. There is the entities menu. There is the assistant menu, and there is the quick menu. All of these can be relocated, if desired, into a new location on the screen. And you can also stack them. So for instance, I could place my entities menu at the top, let go, grab hold of my assistant and lay it on top. And so long as it's sitting nicely on top, it will now layer itself over the top there. And then I'll choose this item and put it on top. We now have the quick menu, the assistant menu, and the entities menu all in the same location. We do, however, recommend that these be separated, and perhaps the way they come out of the box, so to speak, is the best way to operate them. So we'll put the entities menus right back on the left-hand side here. I'll take the assistant menu and push it in between the two, and that is how it comes out of the box. You will also notice at the bottom is our defaults menu. This menu allows you to see what your current color is, your current layer, your current line style, and your current line thickness is set up to be. And it also is able to be maneuvered into a new location. So it could be sitting at the top here, as it is with the LT version of the software, or as we typically recommend, it can sit back down in the lower portion of your screen. In addition to the icon menus, you also have the text menus that drop down. So some of the commands that are not available in the icon menus are available in these menus. And some commands, for instance the arrange commands, are available in both. You will see arrange to front, to back, forward one, back one, and you'll see exactly the same set of 4 commands under this icon here. To the front, to the back, forward one, and back one. At the very top of your screen, you'll notice it shows you the application name, The catchphrase for that application, the name of the current open file. You can only have a single file open at any one time, and this is the file name. If it says untitled, then no file has been saved. It also displays the status of the work plane. The work plane is the XY indicator here. It also shows us the status of which color, what layer, what line style, and what line weight are also currently active. And those items are also shown just down here. Color 5, layer 0, style 0, and a 0.35 line weight. It also displays whether the grid is on and whether the snapping to the grid is also on. You can see here that the grid is on, and if we were to draw, you would be able to see that it is snapping to the grid points as we move around the screen. You can switch the grid on or off using the grid tools here in the quick menu. And this is where you would be able to say, switch the grid snapping off, switch the display of the grid off, and select OK. And as you can see, that has now taken place. The same is true at this bottom menu. There's a grid option here. It opens exactly the same dialog box. And with both of these, or at the bottom at least, you have the opportunity to select a preset for your grid, assuming you're wanting to use a grid. And by selecting that preset, it will instantly switch on the size and color and style of grid that you wish to operate under. Right here is one of the most important areas of your software. It is known as the prompt. It too can be moved. It basically tells you what the software is expecting you to do. And especially as a beginner, by looking here, you will be able to determine what you should probably be doing next. Normally, this prompt area sits at the top left, and it changes as you are working through the software. So as I'm hovering over the circle, for instance, it's telling me that I'd be selecting circles, arcs, and ellipses. If I'm hovering over the curve command, it's showing me here that it is going to be selecting curves and so on. Once I have selected a command, such as insert a line, it then prompts me at the top. It says select the start of the line. So I would choose to select the start of the line. And then at each stage, it selects, or it tells me what the next expectation is. And here it says select the end of the line, which I do, and so on. And it keeps asking me to select the end of the line. Eventually, when I've finished doing what I want to do, I right mouse click to step back once. It's still expecting me to continue to draw lines. If I right click twice, once and then again, the prompt will change color and will go green, and it will basically say, well, you have no commands selected at this point. Please select a command or select some entities. So keep an eye on this. This is probably your best friend when you are learning to use the software. To the right is the coordinates bar. Again, it's a separate floatable dockable menu, and it's where you would enter values in the X direction, left and right, the Y direction, up and down, and if you're working in 3D, the Z direction, which would be towards you or further away from you. Items such as the padlock can be clicked on and locked into position, locking the value that you've typed in, unlocked, or simply by pressing P on the keyboard, you'd also be able to lock or unlock. If we were in the Y coordinate section and I pressed P, again, it would lock or unlock whatever value I had typed in here, and so on. You will note with this menu that it also changes. So should I wish to be drawing in bearing and length, I simply press B on my keyboard, and this has changed from the X, Y, and Z values to the B for bearing and L for length option. If I was to select A for angle, it will give me both distance and angle as an option. And if I use the / key on my keyboard, the / option here allows me to actually type in a length value whilst I'm drawing. So should I be clicking here and here, I can, for instance, hit the /, enter in a value, let's say a value of, say, 500, and then as I'm drawing, that line is locked to being only 500 long, no matter where I go. So you can see the menus are important, and knowing where items are will be one of the greatest challenges over a period of time, because there are a lot of commands to choose from. Not all of them that you will use. However, it is an excellent idea to become as familiar as possible with as many menu items as you can. I've just pressed the P there in order to unlock that particular option. Down the bottom, and for some of these menus, a dialog box may appear. So for instance, if I select the color wheel on the Change General Properties menu, another menu appears allowing me to select and change and edit the color scheme that I'm using. I can also choose line styles, line thicknesses or weights, and layers. This is all done within the one dialog box, but it can be basically selected by selecting any one of these icons here. General Properties, that opens up the weights, but the others are still available to you. The background color can be whatever color you choose. So, in order to change the background color, select the Yin Yang option, which is basically the change background color icon. And from here, you can choose one of three tabs. You can either grab a color that you choose from anywhere on this palette to become your background, or you can choose a black and white series, go completely black, for instance. And if you were to go completely black and you hit the apply, it will show you what it will look like. And you can see that with this particular colored grid, it's not very easy to see the line work. So be very careful about which colors you choose. Most people choose white or very light color because it's the most similar to a piece of paper on which your drawing may eventually be printed. Traditionally, however, black was the preferred background because it was easier on the eye and it would allow most colors to appear vivid when used. So if we choose the black and we then switch the grid off, you can see that these colors look very simply bright and easy to read. But as I mentioned before, it is easier to recognize how it's going to print by picking perhaps the pale gray or the white and applying that instead. The work plane indicates what's called the absolute 0 point. Absolute 0, let's try drawing a line again, starts where the X and Y come together, and you'll notice my cursor there has changed very slightly from being just a crosshair to having a round circle. If I then click at that location, I know for a fact that I have landed at the absolute 0 point. Zooming works based on where your mouse location happens to be, the cursor location. So if I want to zoom in on these wiggly lines, I should place my cursor close to the wiggly lines and roll my mouse wheel either towards me or away from me in order to zoom out or in. If I wish to move the entire screen to the left, I press down on my mouse wheel and then drag the whole screen across to the left. If I wish it to go to the right, of course, I'll just drag my mouse to the right, and so on. If I let go of the mouse wheel depression on the mouse wheel button, then I'm moving my cursor independent of the scene on which I'm drawing. You can change variety of settings using the settings tool here, which is under the system options. This is where you could, for instance, if you find it difficult to zoom in and out with the roll of the mouse, it's going the wrong direction for you, you can click this option to reverse the mouse wheel for zooming. I do recommend as well, if you are operating under version 10 or later, that you check this option and you also potentially check this option, but we will explore that in a future video. In addition to what we've already seen as part of our menu system, for the graphical user interface, we also have some discrete buttons simply here. This not only displays what the current scale is set to, but if I select it, it allows me to actually change the print or plot scale. I can use a drop-down menu to choose what I want to turn it to, or I can actually type a value in, and so on. I can also choose a different view. So here I'm in the top view, and if I select it, I could, for instance, select an isometric view, and you are now looking at exactly the same information, but from a different viewpoint. You can, of course, also split the screen. In the upper right corner, we can add to this either a vertical split, or we can add a horizontal split. And by choosing to split the screen, we can see multiple views at the same time. For instance, I could select this and then choose the top view. And now I'm looking at this from above, the top view. This one I will leave as isometric, and this one I'll also choose the top view, top, and select OK, because that allows me to perhaps see the overview, but in this top view I could be working on a detail. So I might be working here, and I may well be drawing lines. I might snap to this point, and I can see what I'm doing down here, and I can see what I'm doing in all the views. They're all interactive with each other. But here at least I'm getting a full overview. When you have a split screen, you can maximize any one of those screens by selecting this button here, or by double-clicking on the area at the top of the view, and it will switch between either being a full screen or a tiled view. If they get lost, or you get lost for any reason, come up to the word window and select tile, and it will refresh the screen into these tiled motion elements. You can switch off any one of them by clicking on this cross. And again, under the tile option, if you have multiple tiles available, it will bring you back to the tiles. If you don't have multiple tiles open, then nothing will occur. So you will need multiple tiles for that option to happen. So here we'll split horizontally, but only display one. Then if I hit the tile option here, it will split me back into two tiles or two windows. If you have lost one of these menus, or you've mucked the menus up somehow for whatever reason, simply select Window, Toolbars, and reset the toolbars, and it will set it back to the factory defaults.